Good morning, it's Harvey Jackson. And we're just going to get into a few news items here. China buys 10 cargoes of canola. Now, this was talked about last week when it was at Egg Days, and that had the market buzz, but now we're getting confirmation. I think the rumor then was 6 cargoes, but it sounds like it might be 10 now. So in the article itself, Chinese importers secured up to 10 Canadian canola cargoes following Prime Minister Carney's visit to Beijing earlier this month. Two trade sources told Reuters easing supply tightness and potentially displacing Australian exports. It goes on to say here, state-owned COFCO bought about 500,000 metric tons from Australia in recent months. There's still some basically waiting to get unloaded. But they've had other issues with phytosanitary, those kind of things that China has been imposing against Australia in the past. Now they have the anti-dumping, of course, that stopped the Canadian canola and some of the other products there as well. This next one is just talking about the uneasiness of the trade deal, I guess, with China, with the U.S.
Prefer governor of Canada, and him threatening to, break economic alliances with the U.S., go with China. The president has threatened a 100% tariff. What impact would that have?
It would be a disaster for Canada. I was in the Oval with the president today. He spoke to Prime Minister Carney, who was very aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos. And Sean, I'm not sure what the Prime Minister was thinking. Of course, Canada depends on the U.S. There's much more north-south trade than there could ever be east-west trade. He talks about middle countries having to do their own thing. And I'm old enough to remember when French President Francois Mitterrand tried to go down that route. It failed back in the 80s. It'll fail now. And Canada is linked to the U.S., and the Prime Minister should do what's best for the Canadian people rather than trying to push his own globalist agenda.
There you have it, Clown Show Carney, with his clown show. So even, and I didn't put any clips of it, but he's going to give a tax rebate of $30 a month, I think. And I think there's others that were pointing out how much money is spent just on groceries, and it's on average of $17,600. So $30 a month doesn't add up to a whole lot of money. Trump is heading to Iowa as he can feel his base kind of slipping. Visit the nation's largest producer of corn, hogs, ethanol comes as growing anxiety over wheat crop prices, high input costs, and policy uncertainty weakens to erode Trump's popularity across the U.S. farm belt. And highlighted down at the bottom here, delays in biofuel policy has compounded the pressure. The administration has delayed final biofuel blending quotas for 2026. The quotas are known as renewable volume obligations, or RVOs. It also has not finalized tax guidance for renewable fuel credits, known as the 45Z. And efforts have stalled on long-standing priority for corn growers securing congressional approval for year-round sales of gasoline blended at 15% ethanol. Without nationwide year-round E15, many of us are now going to continue on relying on payments to stay afloat. So it's pretty dire down there. China favors Brazilian soybean imports despite renewed U.S. inflows, and you can see how the U.S. is the bottom, dark brown, and then middle brown is the lighter brown is Brazil, and it's just been increasing for sure. I thought I'd just throw this in. I saw this on X, and you can see overall inflation since 2020, and I showed this as a GDP growth with Canada, and it's probably very similar, but it's not breaking it down by the goods and services. But you can see hospital services, tuition, children nursery school, medical care services, wages have increased since 2000, 131%, housing 111, food and beverage at 105, and then some of the things that have gotten cheaper relative in time, vehicles, household furnishings, clothing almost stayed flat, cell phone services, which I could say that's not in Canada, but just to give you an idea, since 2000, it's a 92.6% inflation change. So that's pretty substantial in 25 years. Quick look at the weather. First off, Mato Grosso is the harvest is actually progressing at 13.88%, and then your average overall average is only at 4.3 or no 5.61 in some of these other areas. Sorry. You can see that it's still very cold. Lots of winter weather advisories, you name it, are all extreme cold watch. Everything's happening down in the south there. You can see that there is a little bit of a build of dryness as we move into the later part of the season here for going into harvest. Argentina seems to be making the news more now, but you can see that the progress in harvest is coming along in Brazil. And I've got the areas circled where major growing areas. But yesterday, I think there was a report that one consulting group has actually increased the yield, and you don't increase the yield when you're starting to harvest without some knowledge that, hey, you're starting to harvest and yields are coming in pretty decent, obviously. Quick look at the market. Canola is up $2.90 when I took the snapshot at $6.50. Rapeseed is up $2. Soybean oil up quarter of a penny at 54 cents. Crude oil, West Texas, $60 a barrel, 67 cents. Your diesel fuel, $2.32 a gallon. Soybeans up 1 3/4 pennies at 10.63. Spring wheats basically down just a penny, and basically the Chicago and the Kansas are flat there as well. Corn up a penny, and the Canadian dollar just slightly up. This is the move that we've seen, and you've got the Carney news in there now. 10 cargoes of canola. It's helping this market, that is for sure, on this way up here. And here's your November contract. We're just getting to the bottom end of that range, basically, where the market is currently right now. Rapeseed, it does look like it's actually getting very close to these the high levels that it made back in November, December here. Soybean oil futures, we're actually trying to get to that September value. Just looks like it's kind of fading here as we speak. Your soybean futures don't have that same kind of leg, and they have this definitely pressure with the news of Brazilian soybeans coming online. It's going to have some trouble here. Crude palm oil futures moving up with the soybean oil. Crude oil, though, when you look at this, there's a bit of a channel going up here. Now, will it keep going up is the question. It's going to struggle, I think, especially when you got Saudi Arabia and others that are going to start putting up more product out there. New York Harbor diesel had its run up with this weather, and it's probably going to abate here a little bit. And just like you see, the natural gas is pulled back. Canadian dollar looks like it's starting to stall here. Tomorrow we have a rate announcement for Canada and U.S. for interest rates, and both of them are expected to be no change. U.S. dollar index falling apart. Right where he wants it to go down as well, but U.S. or the gold, holy smoke, it just keeps on going. Let's quick look at wheat. You can see how long we've been caught in this channel. It's just not going anywhere. Same thing with the Kansas, the Chicago, milling wheat, even less of a story. Corn, it looks like it's trying to get off the bottom there as well. Next news will be on stocks, and hopefully we get some good news that stocks are getting used up, but that's being hopeful.